as I was saying, this is more a history lesson than a geography lesson because we are going to look at Pompeii. Does anybody know what Pompeii is? Can anyone tell me anything about Pompeii? Feel free. I know you can because Mr. Wales told you about it. Let's see, who have we got? Anyone that hasn't said anything today? Matty, go on, Matty. Tell us something about Pompeii.
It erupted and practically everyone in Pompeii died.
Absolutely right. It erupted and practically everyone in Pompeii died by getting essentially covered over with a big old ash cloud thingamy. What's it? Anyone want to tell me anything more? And lava as well, of course. Lava came down and hardened. Can anyone tell me anything else about Pompeii, Georgie?
Wasn't it in Roman times?
Yes, it was very good. It was in Roman times. No, saying we learned about it in year 3. That's good. Well, we'll go in hopefully a little bit more detail. Twins, can you tell me a little bit more?
Pompeii is a volcano and it's very dangerous.
Well, Pompeii itself is not a volcano. The volcano erupted near Pompeii, but Pompeii itself is a city. Noah.
It's called Mount Vesuvius.
Very good, Amy and Molly. It's called Mount Vesuvius. You're quite right. Go on, Noah, tell us something.
Well, not too long ago, they found bodies, but the bodies were covered in ash.
In hardened land. Yeah, and they were really well preserved, weren't they, as well? Because they'd been it had hardened around them, which had helped, as I say, helped preserve them. So that's a really interesting thing about it. John? John thinks it erupted in 1500 BCE. So that is 1,500 years before the current era, which is after before Jesus was born. Yes, there is a movie about it and a song about it. There are clips from the movie. I'm not going to try and show you because no, I don't know if it swears or not, but I'm not going to try and show you because it'll be really laggy, and we've had that issue before. Brian? There you go. There's a TV show out there as well explaining what happened as well, and there's loads of stuff on YouTube as well. So I would encourage you all to go and do a little bit of research about it. Do a little bit of research about it. Noah's got his cloak of invisibility there. Noticed. And now he's frozen on a shocked face, which is quite funny for me.
Frozen on this face for me.
Oh, frozen on this face for me. And now he's frozen on a smile. That's good. Good stuff. Freddie's showing us a shocked face there as well. All right, cool. Let's we've got lots of lols in the old chat. Turn the chat off. What? What's the old chat? The old chat, the old chatterbox. That is literally a chatterbox, isn't it?
Yeah.
How funny. It's a chatterbox full of chatterboxes. There we go, getting some laughing faces. Love a laughing face.
You
right.
Got a lot more than if they were here, Mr.
Yeah, I know. I don't. Yeah.
I'm
getting loads of laughing faces. I didn't even think it was that. I didn't even think it was that funny. All right, cool. Let's crack on, shall we? I'm going to share the screen, and I'm going to show you a little PowerPoint about Pompeii and the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Mount Vesuvius. Just going to wait till it opens up. Just going to have to bear with me for a moment. Oh. And then display settings, duplicate the slideshow. How's that looking on your screen, Miss Atkinson? I'm going to give it a second. Good. We're good. Excellent. Noah's giving me a thumbs up as well. Pompeii, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. These pictures show the ruins of the Roman city of Pompeii. So as someone mentioned, this all took place in the Roman times, which you learned a lot about in year 3. Pompeii in those days was a busy, bustling Roman city, and it was built at the foot of a mountain. The mountain was called Mount Vesuvius. In those days, they did not know about tectonic plates. They did not know about things like lava and volcanoes, okay? So that's why they built their city there. In the year AD 79, Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried Pompeii and many of its Roman citizens under 9 meters of burning hot ash. 9 meters. If you think about a swimming pool and you think about 10 meters in the swimming pool, that's pretty much how much ash they were buried under. That is massive. For reference, I won't be 2 meters tall, will I? I'm not 2 meters tall. So, and I'm incredibly tall. So imagine being buried under like 4.5 of me or something like that. A lot of burning hot ash. The remains since then have been excavated, which of course means dug out, by archaeologists to show us what the Roman city would originally have looked like 2,000 years ago, and it's been a really good tool to tell us about how Romans lived their lives. Archaeologists have also discovered some really surprising things that we'll see later, so we'll move on for that. So the bottom one is obviously an artist's impression, the top one is a photograph of how Pompeii looks now. And because it was buried under all that ash, it's been really well preserved, which is so it gives a unique insight into what life was like in those times. So Pompeii, of course, is in Italy. It was an important city as well in Italy back in those days, 2,000 odd years ago. It's located 200 kilometers south of Rome in the Bay of Naples on the coast of the Tyrrhenian Sea. Prizes for anyone that can pronounce that. Interesting. So you can see on the map where it is in Italy. Do you want to have a go pronouncing that one, Miss Atkinson? No, it's a solid no from Miss Atkinson. B wants to have a go pronouncing it. Say again? Tyrrhenian, says B. That was like a Scottish, Scotalian. John, do you want to have a go pronouncing it? Tyrrhenian, says John. Not bad. Tyrrhenian. That's how B said it. On this map of Europe, you can see where Italy is. You know where Italy is in Europe, though. It's the one that looks like a boot kicking a football. And then, of course, you can see where Pompeii is in relation to Italy. Would anyone like to describe, using northeast, southwest, southeast, southwest, or northwest? Would anyone like to describe roughly where Pompeii is in Italy? Go on, twins.
Like southie, westy, middly. Probably like in the middle west or something.
Yeah.
Southwest. Something like that. Just say southwest-ish.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I wouldn't say it's in the very southwest, but I'd say yeah, it's more southwest than anything, I would say. More southwest than anything. Good one, twins. So on this map of Italy down at the bottom there, you can see the Bay of Naples, and we've zoomed in a little bit, and you can see where Pompeii is on the Bay of Naples. So that, especially in those days, it was really important to be near the sea or near a river because of trade, boats coming in and things like that. We didn't have airplanes. Like I was there. They didn't have airplanes. They didn't have helicopters. They didn't have trains, nor did they have hot air balloons to transport you inland. Okay, so being near the coast was really important, which is why or being near a river, which is why you'll find the majority of major historical cities are near rivers. We want to look at London, obviously the Thames, Middlesbrough, the Tees. I think they're the two most important towns or cities in England. Let's move on. Here they come. I imagine that's really laggy for you lot. I can only apologize. Back in AD 79, Pompeii was a beautiful city. It had grand public buildings, it had a temple, and it had a forum, and they were all built of carved stone, built by master craftsmen. It had shops and houses which were built of concrete. It had paved streets with pavements. It had running water, and it had gardens. The Romans were very, very good at a lot of things. A lot of things like running water. You know, they were quite sanitary. You know, they had public bathhouses. They had like proper toilets and sewers, and the Romans were really, really quite clever. And Pompeii was a good example of one of their cities. Here you can see a sort of a mock-up CGI type version of what it might have been like wandering around Pompeii in those days. The streets would have been thriving. They would have been bustling with Romans shopping, buying fish, fruit, veg, meat, bread, clothes, and household items. All sorts of different things would have been bought in the markets, the streets of Pompeii. B? That lady does have a jug on her head. That was one way of carrying them. Some people would be going to the temple to pray to their Roman gods, for instance, our friend Vulcan, or on their way to the forum to hear the senators and the councillors discuss the news that they had heard from Rome, and talk about how to run their city of Pompeii. Life in Pompeii was pretty decent. Wealthy Romans, it was pretty decent, particularly if you were a wealthy Roman. Wealthy Romans lived in beautiful houses with richly decorated and painted walls, and they had lovely gardens with pools and fountains. These wealthy citizens would have had many servants to look after them and to look after their houses, those lucky, lucky devils. The city even had its own amphitheatre where the citizens of Pompeii would go in the afternoon and in the evenings, and they would watch plays about Roman gods and about Greek gods and about famous Greeks and famous Romans. Of course, amphitheatres are also where the amphitheatres also where the slaves would fight lions and stuff. But all of this busy bustling living by the Roman citizens of Pompeii was done in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, giant mountain volcano that had not erupted for such a long time that Romans did not even know it was a volcano. They just thought it was a lovely big mountain. The people of Pompeii grew crops and fruit on the slopes of the mountain because the soil was so good for growing plants. And you can see a picture, a photograph there of the mountain. They will have just thought in those days it was a nice bit of scenery, something nice to look at, and something very useful to help them grow their crops. It will have probably been part of the reason that they will have set up a city there, because they'll have identified that the soil was good crop growing soil. And it'll have been part of the reason that it was a wealthy city, part of the reason that it was a nice place to live. However, on the 24th of August, AD 79, don't ask me how they know it was the 24th of August, because I don't know. But it was in the afternoon, and Mount Vesuvius erupted with a massive explosion that hurled rock, ash, and molten lava hundreds of meters into the air. This wasn't a dribble. This was an absolute boom, like a bomb going off in the days when they did not know what bombs even were. Lava started to run down the slopes of the mountain, destroying all of the fields of crops, all the fields of fruit, everything that the Romans had been growing in that fertile volcanic soil. So what the mountain had given them, it took away in a heartbeat. And you can see there some pictures. Where are they? You can see there some pictures, some artists' impressions, and actually a real photograph of a volcano erupting, what it would have looked like in those days. And you can see in the top right as well, there would have been, because like I say, it's near the sea, so it will have been like a trading point, a sort of harbour point for a port, yeah, for all sorts of goods and services making their way into Italy. So there will have been all sorts of ships and boats and stuff like that that will have been in the shadow of that mountain as well. Georgie's got a hand up. Go on, Georgie.
You know the bottom left one?
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't look like lava. It more looks like a fireworks coming out.
It does look like a fireworks coming out because it's essentially a big explosion, and a firework is essentially a small explosion. You know, the fireworks are filled with little explosives that have that chemical reaction and explode in that same way. So you're absolutely right. It does look a lot like that. Ryan's got his hand up too. It's a good question. I don't know. We'll have a Google after we've looked through this PowerPoint because I have no idea. You know. Don't know. Would you Google it on there whilst Miss Atkinson is Googling it? We'll find out. See? History, excavation, archaeological purposes. We might find out in this PowerPoint.
From 1631 to the end of the 19th century, it erupted 15 times.
Wow, did we catch that? Can we hear that on there? Give us a thumbs up if we can hear Miss Atkinson. Say again. Oh, we got a thumbs up from the twins.
Oh, excellent. The most recent eruption was in 1944.
There we go, 1944. Famous, of course, because World War II was going on at that point. So yeah, so that's just what they needed during World War II was a massive volcano erupting. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. So the lava was flowing down the mountain, as we said, destroying all of their crops. But the Romans in Pompeii were not actually that worried. They'll have seen it and they'll have thought, that's fine, that's still a long way away. Yes, it's a shame that we're losing our crops, but we'll be all right. It probably wasn't coming down that fast. They probably thought everything was fine. B, is this really important for right now? Well, they kept diaries and stuff like that, and people did writings and things like that. Who knows, maybe people escaped. Yeah. They carried on with their everyday business, thinking the eruption would not last very long and the lava would not reach their city. So they thought the lava would eventually stop moving, stop running. They didn't think that they'd get harmed. That's a good question, B, about how do we know these type of things, was what B asked, which is why I said they wrote things down. There were scholars that wrote things down. I'm saying they kept diaries. Diaries probably isn't the right word, is it? But they did write things down in those days. They kept note of stuff. But 18 hours after the volcano had first erupted, there was an enormous explosion, which was bigger than the first. Mrs. Stonehouse has joined us. We're doing a live lesson, Mrs. Stonehouse. It's all right. Let's just open the chat so people can say hello to Mrs. Stonehouse. There you go, Mrs. Stonehouse. All those people are saying hello to you on the chat there. They can't see you, unfortunately. She's saying hi. She's doing a dance as well, actually, would you believe? Those that can't see us, she's doing, oh my God, she's doing the splits. What is going on? I didn't know you could do a backflip, Mrs. Stonehouse. That was remarkable. Whoa, Mrs. Stonehouse, backflip. That's amazing. See you later, Mrs. Stonehouse. Enjoy your mod rock. Yes, please. Oh, she's heard I'm doing that backflip. She's got to go. Yeah, who knew Mrs. Stonehouse backflips? Anyway, 18 hours after that first volcanic eruption, there was another one, an enormous explosion, even bigger than the first. It was so big that it blew half of the side of the mountain off, and a huge cloud of red hot ash, rock, and gas hurtled down the side of the mountain, the side of the volcano, and straight over the city of Pompeii. The citizens tried to run to escape it, but it was too fast. It was too fast. Quite right, shocked face there from the twins. I'm not leaving this here for effect. I am trying to skip on to the next slide, but it is not. Here we go. So there you can see sort of an artist's impression. An important Roman who witnessed the Vesuvius eruption was a writer called Pliny. There we go. So we're learning about how people knew about it there. Be like, I told you we would. He tried to rescue some of the Pompeii citizens, but he himself died from breathing in the hot ash and gas. However, he managed to write notes about the eruption before he died and described the cloud of ash as like branches of a stone pine tree. So you can see that tree there in the middle. That's what he said it looked like. So if you imagine, it must have really, really shot out and then expanded at the top, a bit like the atomic bomb, like the mushroom cloud in a sense. Travis? Oh wow! Travis just said that sometimes in the ash cloud, you get sort of lightning, which is caused by the force of everything rubbing together. It has that same effect of lightning. There's Matty's dog, very cute Matty, and the pooch. Good dog, good, and he's frozen on the screen as well, which is perfect. So, because Pliny was the first person to ever describe this type of volcanic eruption, scientists named it after him, which is quite cool. So we now have the Plinian eruption, and that's when it just shoots up and then expands out. Like you can, I mean, we know now that volcanoes erupt because of the pressure, essentially, of things rubbing together and that. We know that it's because of the pressure. So if you imagine for it to shoot out that much, the pressure must have built and built and built. At lunchtimes at the moment, we're watching the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the new one. If you think of Augustus Gloop, when he's stuck in that tube and the pressure builds and builds and builds of the chocolate, the liquid chocolate, similar type of physics, the pressure builds and builds and builds and builds, and eventually just boom, shoots him up like that. If you imagine in that picture of the volcano there, if you imagine Augustus Gloop is somewhere near the top, shooting up. So there you go. They said you couldn't link Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Pompeii. They were wrong. Everyone said that. So this is how Pliny actually described the eruption of Vesuvius in his letters, which were saved and copied by his son after Pliny's death. So there you go, just like I said. I cannot give you a more exact description of its appearance than by comparing to a stone pine tree, for it shot up to a great height in the form of a tall trunk which spread out at the top as though into branches. Occasionally it was brighter, occasionally darker and spotted, as it was either more or less filled with earth and cinders. And then you can see there is a little GIF up there, a little animation of it shooting up, and then obviously gravity takes place, doesn't it? Because gravity is still a force. God, we're getting everything in. We're getting science, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, geography, history, the lot. But yeah, you can see that gravity will eventually have to take place. If something shoots up, it's not going to hang around there, because these are still little tiny pieces of solid, aren't they, essentially? And they are going to get pulled back down to earth. And unfortunately for the people of Pompeii, they got pulled back down to earth over their city. And there was so much of it. There was 9 meters of it to cover the whole city. That is an unbelievable amount. If you think about how much it has rained recently, we haven't had 9 meters worth of rain. God, you know, like it's an amazing amount. So we've got another animation there, and you can see it just shoots out like so much. I can't impress upon you enough how much it will have shot out. So when the side of the mountain, and of course the side of the mountain blew off as well. That's a, you know, it's a big explosion, is what I'm saying. Don't mess with volcanoes. So when the side of the mountain blew off, the citizens of Pompeii, they could not escape. Red hot ash, rock, and gas rushed down over the city at the speed of 400 kilometers per hour. That rush of hot ash is, of course, as we know, called the pyroclastic flow. The citizens of Pompeii and their city were buried in seconds. So if there's one thing to, you know, one bit of solace that you can take from this, is that it will have been terribly scary, but also it won't have lasted very long. It will have been a very quick way to go, a very quick demise for that city for the most part. And yeah, that layer, as we said, it was 9 meters thick, which is absolutely remarkable. This map of the Bay of Naples shows how far the volcanic ash was blown by the wind and spread across the sea. So you can see where Pompeii is there. You can see where Vesuvius is there. That ash went for absolutely miles. That's why we don't mess with volcanoes. The ash completely buried the city of Pompeii and also another city, Herculaneum. Herculaneum. Going with? Yep. You want to have a go with that one? Nope. Okay. Amelia? Why do you think? Amelia asked, why did it only go one way and not both ways? Yeah. It's going to be wind and it's going to be the side of the volcano that blew off will have worked together to create bad luck for those places. The town of Stabai, a town, was not buried so heavily, but it was the place where Pliny died after breathing in the ash and the gas from the volcano. So that's the thing as well. You've got this town, which is, I mean, you can see there, it's miles away, really miles and miles away from Vesuvius. And even though it didn't get buried heavily enough for it to really be, you know, like deathly in terms of death by being buried by the stuff, it was still, you know, quite deathly for the people that lived there because they were breathing in all this, what is essentially poisonous gas, and breathing in all that ash. That's not good for the old lungs. Teddy's got his hand up. What's up, Ted? Head Ted.
You know that one, that the city that's nearest to the volcano?
Yeah.
How come if Pompeii was the most that got like ashed on,
Yeah.
how come was the one nearest to the volcano not?
Well, I think that
Because it's
probably
only got a bit of a city.
Well, no, according to this, that city also got completely buried as well. I think it's just Pompeii is the one that gets spoken about the most. Maybe because genuinely could be because it's easier to say. Maybe Pompeii was the first one that was discovered, perhaps, and they discovered that one later. If we think as well, old Pliny, who wrote a lot about it, he was in Stabai, however you say that word. He was there, so maybe that's closer to Pompeii. Maybe he knew more about Pompeii, or maybe he could see that Pompeii was getting covered and he couldn't see that Herculaneum was getting covered. Could be any number of reasons, to be honest, but that city did also get totally wiped out and covered by the ash cloud as well. Good question though, Ted. And a nice picture of a bike you've got there instead of your face. Good question, Teddy. So if we move on. Archaeologists discovered Pompeii in 1748, and the whole city was finally dug out of the thick layer of ash and soil in 1997. So, I mean, that took an awfully long time, nearly 2,000 years later. The photo shows that many of the city's buildings survived being buried because they got preserved. And this is because so many of them were made of stone or concrete. Obviously, the wooden buildings and the wooden parts of the buildings were burnt away by the hot ash, but stone and concrete, that didn't get burnt away, that survived and was preserved. So once they will have dug that out in 1997 and before, they'll have found a lot out about the Roman way of life, like we've discussed. So now in modern day, you can go to Pompeii, and I'd love to go to Pompeii one day, and you can see the Roman streets and statues that were buried nearly 2,000 or over 2,000 years ago, or nearly 2,000 years ago. You can see the amphitheater as it was in Roman times, and obviously now it's been uncovered by ash and mud. So it's quite a remarkable place. It is living history if you ever get the chance. to go to Pompeii, do, yeah, and let us know what it's like. Archaeologists also discovered a surprise because they found the imprints of bodies in the volcanic ash. These were the citizens of Pompeii who'd been buried by the burning hot ash in AD 79. So, you know, those poor people. So the archaeologists, what they did, the imprints, they made, oh, Mr. Kelly's just joined us. Mr. Kelly knows loads about Pompeii, so I might just hand over to Mr. Kelly. Do you just want to drop a bit of a knowledge bomb on Pompeii? He's been to Pompeii. And can you hear Mr. Kelly while he's talking there, everyone?
It was found next to Mount Vesuvius because all the soil was very fertile around volcanoes and very fertile around Mount Vesuvius. And it was really cosmopolitan. There were lots of people, lots of traders would go there as well. Quite a big Roman city. I think it had about 10,000 people, which at that particular time was massive highway. That was massive, really, 10,000 people. It absolutely got basically wiped out completely. Interestingly, when you go to Pompeii, there is another town, not quite as big as Pompeii, called Herculaneum.
I said it right.
Now, Herculaneum, everyone, if you can hear me, it's right underneath the slopes of Vesuvius itself. And when that was obviously destroyed, it was so close that it got destroyed in something called the pyroclastic blast, which you get from a volcano. And the actual, when you go to Herculaneum, all the colours are completely preserved.
All the colours?
It's not just the colours, and it's the reds, and it's the golds, and the oranges. Because obviously we see runes now and think they're all grey and stone, but they never were. They were painted, they were different colours, they were absolutely stunning. So Herculaneum, you can see all those different colours, and it is amazing, absolutely amazing to see.
Have you been to Herculaneum?
I've been to Herculaneum as well.
Mr. Kelly, one question that we had was, how come Pompeii is the one that is like the famous one compared to Herculaneum? I suggested it was because it's easier to say, but that was a guess.
Pompeii, two reasons. I think Pompeii was the major city at that time, the major town, and also Pompeii was written about by the famous Greek philosopher, writer called Pliny. Pliny.
I said that too.
Pliny basically was there. Pliny the Elder was there at the time. He witnessed about the actual eruption, and he was lucky that he was in the Bay of Naples.
Do you know what the city he was in was called? Because we couldn't figure out how to pronounce it.
Pliny.
No, his name was Pliny, but he was in a city, Strinium or something. I'll show you the word in you. There, Stabia. And so he could see Pompeii better than
so if you can see that map, if you point round there near Vesuvius, you can actually go at the top of Vesuvius and look into the crater itself. And just the other side of Vesuvius, there's a place which is it's called Sulfaternium. And Sulfaternium basically is exactly what it sounds. It's made, the whole ground and everything is actually sulfur rock. And sulfur rock is a bright yellow rock. It's the most eerie space-like place you'll ever go to. But there's fumes coming up out of the ground, and the fumes basically sulfur smells of rotten egg. So the whole thing smells of rotten egg. It's incredible, absolutely incredible place, Vesuvius. And the other thing why it was important, this as well, the reason Pompeii was so important was that if you see where the bay, if you just point them to where the corner is here.
Yeah, bottom left hand corner.
Okay. This there, round about where the end on the left-hand side, Mr. Johnson, there.
Yeah.
There's an island called Capri. Now, Capri was the holiday island of the Romans. Like we would go different holidays. It was particularly the holiday island of the rich people. So quite often, if the rich people were traveling from Rome and from northern Italy, their stopping point before they got there was Pompeii. So Pompeii was a main city on the trade route and on like the holiday route. Because they still holidayed the Romans, believe it or not. And they used to go to this little island called Capri. And this drive there, it's called the Amalfi Drive, and it's just got loads of ruins and temples because that's obviously was the main route to actually get to this holiday place. So Pompeii was a really significant city in Rome.
So there you go.
So yeah.
Dropped a big knowledge bomb, a knowledge eruption, you could call it.
The actual running track is stadium. There's a stadium at Pompeii because they did like athletics and different stuff there. The Romans did that. And when I went, we got to race on the actual track itself at school. We got to race there.
No way. Did you go with the school?
Yeah, with the school, yeah.
That's cool.
Did a race.
Did you win?
Did win the race, yeah. Mr. Johnson, yeah, did win the race, yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. And that same trip, no, a different trip the next year, we actually went to Olympia. We went to race in the original Olympic Games track. So,
That's pretty cool.
and that was a solid.
School did you go to?
Good job, Matthew. That.
Can we go to Pompeii next year?
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing Pompeii.
I had a yes.
I heard a yes in there as well. Yeah. I know. Yeah, we will.
A lot of people going by tourists initially were climbing on the rooms and trying to steal.
Oh, really?
Steal the mosaic, so it's you've got a lot of certain areas you can't go now. And I think there's at least a third that's not been excavated still. And they're discovering things. And what they've recently just discovered, they discovered this around about Christmas time. They realised that in Pompeii, if you can hear me still, this is quite interesting fact. This in Pompeii, they actually had fast food shops, and they discovered them. They discovered Roman fast food, and you can see it's amazing. It's online at the moment. I think about a month ago they discovered it. Yeah, Roman fast food shops.
Oh,
yeah.
McRomans.
Yeah, McRome.
There you go. Roman fast food, boys and girls. A McRomanburg.
Oh, they eat things like basically chickens, they eat seafood, mussels, snails,
McMussels.
stuff like that. They eat rabbits.
People still eat rabbit.
Interesting facts there.
Yeah, that's
Other
good.
wild birds potentially doing these, and there were big balls, you can see it all. And what they've done is they've actually found, they've looked in the ball, they've seen traces of the food that was in them. That's how they know they actually ate.
So people would go and pay and then just take a little,
Yeah,
take a little bite out.
Yeah, that's it.
There you
So
go.
Romans did that sort of stuff.
Nice. Good knowledge. Mr. Kelly dropping all sorts of knowledge on Pompeii.
I want
Knowledge
that for free, by the way.
for free. Oh, nice, because I was gonna get my wallet out. Free knowledge. There you go, kids. You don't need to pay us for that. You can keep that one for free. John's got his hand up. John, are you going to drop a knowledge bomb on us? Oh.
There was a story of someone running with a stone on Wales, and then other people taking back with bags of money in their hand.
Nice, nice.
Cool amphitheatre as well.
Yeah, it was talking about the amphitheatre. Yeah. I think school trip to Pompeii next year. I think. I'm
All in
down.
favour? That's it.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
get in. There we go.
Let it be written, let it be done.
Sorry, guys. Me and Miss Atkinson and Mr. Kelly going on holiday on a school trip to Pompeii next year. Not a holiday, it's a working trip. The twins are having fast food at the moment. Oh, a shocked face from the twins. Who's oh no, a dog. Oh. Top right. So Roman people lie where they died from the ash and the gases buried under the thick ash. Poor dog lies on its back, having suffocated from breathing in the hot ash. Poor thing. A man's body lies where he fell over, buried beneath the hot volcanic ash. And as you can imagine, the archaeologists were shocked when they discovered these body imprints, because that is literally people's sort of final resting place and final resting position. But you can take solace in the fact that it will probably have been pretty quick being buried in 9 meters worth of ash and lava and rocks and stuff like that. It won't have lasted long. Let's get away from that poor dog. Yeah. They also found many beautiful Roman things that have been preserved. And as you can see there, yeah, you've got the colour has stayed. So, you know, things weren't in black and white just because it was in the past. You got paintings on the walls, show a Roman man and his wife, a Roman god, Bacchus, god of possibly god of wine, and a faun, and paintings of Romans doing different activities. The paintings told, again, a lot of information about what ancient Rome was like. Pompeii, one of the main reasons that we know so much about ancient Rome, I think. Helped the archaeologists work out what Pompeii must have really been like in the Roman times. And if you look at these two pictures, they show the same thing. The Temple of Apollo. Have you been there, Mr. Kelly? Temple of Apollo. Picture on the left shows the temple as it is now. The picture on the right shows a sort of a mock-up of what the temple would have looked like back in Roman times. Shows the same statue exactly as it was. And if you can believe it, that statue has not moved in 2,000 years. And there, yeah, you can see Vesuvius in the background, quite far away, really. So it shows the massive range. It was a bit like a mushroom cloud, wasn't it? Yeah. Keza, you've got your hand up. What's up, Keza?
On the day of the eruption, the wind blew the volcanic eruption towards Pompeii, but on almost every other day of the week, it would have blown it away.
Really? Great little knowledge bomb erupting out of your head there. Nice one, Keris. That is good. Thank you for sharing. So, bad luck if you were a Pompeian. A Pompeian? If you were a person from Pompeii. Pomeranian. If you were a Pomeranian, bad luck. So you were barking up the wrong tree with that one, Miss. George is laughing. So through the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, though the eruption was a tragedy for the citizens of Pompeii, because the city and its people were kept so well by the volcanic ash, archaeologists have used it to help us understand a lot more about how the Romans lived over 2,000 years ago. So it's one of those things that at the time, a tragic event, a whole city was wiped out, but here we sit 2,000 years later. It's a major historical event that has not only kept that city on the map, but also taught future generations a lot about the past. And it's important to be able to learn about the past. And that's it. The end. Oh, Ryan, you've got your hand up. A mushroom cloud is essentially, go on, John. Yeah, it's the shape of a mushroom because it goes like, yeah. Yeah. So, well done for listening, everyone. Well done for contributing as well. What, nice background you've got there, Harry. What I am going to give you, bless you, B, to do is a little bit of a research task. We've done a whistle-stop tour of Pompeii there. What I would like you to do is research using books, the internet, whatever other resources you've got, is research one specific area of Pompeii that we've looked at, okay? And we're going to try something. This might work. This might be a disaster. We'll see. But, you know, we'll give it a go. You know how sometimes we do a presentation as your homework? I'm going to give you a week. And this time next week, I'm going to challenge you to come up with a maximum of a 5-minute long presentation about one particular area of Pompeii that you've researched. Realistically, it'll probably have to be a PowerPoint, and we'll try and do a share screen type of a situation. If you haven't got PowerPoint, don't worry. You could share a video. Yes, you could make a video, and you could share a video. You could make a poster and show it to us like that. They're my doodles. That's a challenge for you, is to figure out a way, is to come up with either a video, a PowerPoint, a presentation. You could create like a fact file and talk us through it on a shared screen, like that. Some sort of a presentation about Pompeii and about one specific aspect of Pompeii. We've got questions. Noah, the floating head, what's your question?
Are we allowed to work in partners?
Ooh. Yeah. As long as you do it over, like, you know, as long as you don't go around to anyone's house, because that's not allowed. But if you worked collaboratively, you know, on the phone or on Zoom or whatever you like, then yeah, that's absolutely fine. The twins, you had your hand up. I assume you were going to ask the same question, because clearly you two are already in partners. You two don't have to do it over the phone because you live in the same house, so that's handy. Yeah, good question, Noah, and good idea. Yeah, if you want to do it in partners, absolutely fine. You don't have to, though. Right. Any Sophie, you've got a question? Oh.
If you're doing it in partners, people are allowed to exercise, can't people go on a walk together?
I suppose they could, yes. But I don't need to know. Trevor's at home. At home. Bit of homework for the people here as well. All right, guys, I have ran 20 minutes over. Luckily, I think we're the last one of the day, aren't we? So I don't think I've disrupted anybody else's. But yeah, good work, good listening. Thanks for tuning in. And I will see you all bright and breezy for English tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning, where we're going to look at putting expanded noun phrases into sentences. Then a bit of maths, where we'll be doing something, and then a bit more volcano stuff in the afternoon. So I will see you all tomorrow.